What up, everybody? Episode 2, the Thomas and Terrell Show. I'm Thomas.
And I'm Terrell.
It's good to see everybody today. So, we got a lot of interesting topics to talk about. The first thing we're talking about today, Terrell, is the situation going on in Iowa and Tennessee. It has to do with immigration. Tyson, the company, they own the chicken people.
Okay.
They own Jimmy Dean. They own Hillshire Farms. And what they've done is, let me tell you about what's going on with them. There's 180,000 illegal aliens estimated in New York, the state of New York, over the past 2 years. Tyson, the chicken company, already employs 42,000 immigrants, and they said that they would hire 42,000 more if they could. Tyson set aside $1.5 million for legal aid and time off for illegal immigrants to go to court to fight their cases. In 2023, Tyson paid 1,317. Well, it paid for 1,317 people to become U.S. citizens. They paid their expenses. And Tyson is closing a plant in Iowa, laying off 1,200 people and transferring those jobs to the state of New York, illegal immigrants and that we know about that have come into the United States. It's probably many more. They call them getaways. I mean, because not all areas of the border are patrolled, are surveilled, and they really don't know how many illegal immigrants have come into the United States. So people are upset at Tyson, and there's calls to boycott Tyson because it appears that Tyson is turning its back on American citizens so it can hire illegal immigrants for a lower wage. And, people are upset. What do you think about that?
I think it's utterly crazy and ridiculous, man. For the simple fact, you have all these American citizens that are needing jobs, and you have a plant in Iowa with American citizens working there that has dedicated their lives, a lot of them. This is all they have known, and now you're leaving at that. The effects economically for whatever city it is in Iowa is going to be a very big blow to that city, first of all. Second of all, the fact that you had the audacity to set aside that over $1 million could be saving those people's jobs. So you're willing to close down everything. I mean, as a businessman, you try to save money. I got that. But at what cost? Because I look at it, how are people going to buy your product if they don't have the money to do that? And to turn your back on the people that got you to where you are is a slap in the face. So I think the people have a right to boycott with Tyson. I think this is something that needs to be put out to the mainstream, and people need to really pay attention to it because that's just utterly ridiculous. That's foul.
So here's what some people say, and I saw a headline in Bloomberg News. Bloomberg said Tyson makes jobs available for jobs that Americans don't want. So basically it's saying these are jobs that Americans have demonstrated that's beneath them. And the only people that they can find to do it are illegal immigrants. Now, I'm coming to everybody from Detroit. And Detroit has an area of town called the Eastern Market. Eastern Market area is where there's a lot of produce, meat, slaughterhouses. And anytime you go to that part of town, you see the workers lined up either to get into work, coming out of work, going to lunch at the slaughterhouse. And these are, by all outward appearances, Americans. If you offer Americans a decent wage and benefits, it won't be hard to fill those jobs. People will want those jobs. I think it's a cop-out to say Americans don't want those jobs. And I think the concern is that American workers are being replaced with cheaper workers. One of the battles that's been going on in this immigration fight is that it's corporations who encourage illegal immigration. It's a matter of corporations versus everybody else because corporations love cheap labor. And what we do know is that immigrants are willing to work for a lower wage. That's just based upon the opportunities that are available in their home countries. So corporations would love to import labor because they can pay the immigrants a lower wage. But the effect of that is you leaving Americans out in the cold. Instead of raising wages and paying Americans a decent wage, you just import people who are willing to work for a lower wage. And I've always found it interesting that when it comes to, when you talk about Black Americans, unfortunately, but it's a fact, there's a higher proportion of Black Americans who fill the labor jobs that would compete against that immigrants would be competing for. So the group that's most impacted negatively by illegal immigration when it comes to competition for jobs are Black Americans. And I always found it interesting when it comes down to a debate about illegal immigration, you have Black people accepting the line that, well, this is America. And they start talking about the Statue of Liberty and the plaque. That's what it indicates on the bottom of the Statue of Liberty. And give me your poor, give me your tired. And I wonder if the people who say things like that out of loyalty to their particular political ideology understand that it's people who look just like them who are going to be most adversely affected by illegal immigration. And I think the situation with Tyson is a perfect example. $16.50 an hour. Nowadays, is that a decent wage? I don't know. With inflation over the last several years, maybe it's not.
No, I can tell you, no, it's not. And there is no maybe, it's not.
I don't know what Tyson's profits were in 2023, but Tyson is happy that they can import people who are willing to accept $16.50 an hour. But I'm telling you who's not going to get those jobs. Those are Black people who've been living right here in the United States, paying taxes, may have served in the military, sacrificed their whole lives to be citizens of the United States, contributed to this country, and they're not going to reap the benefits of these jobs. And that's unfortunate. Now, and I think one of the positive effects of orderly immigration is that all types of businesses need employees, and that's fine. And it's fine that immigrants fill those jobs. But when you have a flood of millions and millions of illegal immigrants, they're going to need jobs. And it's a matter of supply and demand. When you have so many workers and so few jobs, that drives down wages for everybody. And the people who suffer are the people who are at the lower rungs of the labor market. Unfortunately, again, that's Black people. And I always find it interesting that you have Black people, because of their political loyalty, are cheering their own destruction. And that's just the way I see it. But you can go ahead.
Well, man, look, like we have talked about before, one of the biggest things that we need to do as Black people in general is to open our eyes and not be stuck to one party. It's been engraved in a lot of our heads since we were young to vote for the Dems. And quite frankly, the Dems haven't done a damn thing for us like they say they're going to do. Their platform is ran on entirely, for the most part, on what they're going to do for the Black community in the inner cities and being for the people and having liberal laws and all that stuff. Yet, when they get in the office, they don't do a damn thing for us. Everybody else gets what they're asking for except us. But we're the ones that they run their platform on. At what point do you wake up and understand you can't be loyal to one party? All politicians lie. But yes, where do you stand up and say which one aligns to my beliefs the most? Whether it's Republican, an independent, or a Democrat. Be open-minded. Be your own person. Don't follow what everybody else is doing. Understand what their platform is and what they're trying to pass as far as legislation. And then you will have a better idea and make a better educated decision on who you should vote for. When it comes to this stuff with Tyson and these other companies where it comes with corporate America, they're all foul, they're all greedy, and they're stingy. And long as they're getting their money, they don't give a damn if you get your money or not. They can give a damn if what happens to your family. That's why they sleep great at night with laying off thousands of workers and closing hundreds of plants, because they don't give a damn, because they're going to get their money. And I have a problem with that. You know, that we as human beings can be so greedy and foul and evil at times with things. So quite frankly, I like chicken. I used to buy Tyson, but you ain't got to worry about me buying Tyson no time soon. I tell you that.
Well, the middle class is in jeopardy
I agree.
because between illegal immigration, artificial intelligence and robots and automation, folks are in trouble. You better find a specialty. You better find entrepreneurship, because these jobs are going to disappear. And, a company like Tyson, it's not only the lower wage that you can pay, it's a lot of nonsense that I'm sure that they figure that they don't have to deal with. I mean, folks who've been here, we kind of spoiled. We learned how to game the system, calling sick, filing lawsuits, workers' compensation, discrimination.
That's what they used to do with every job.
Yeah, you go to exactly. He talks about that. We calling OSHA, we calling the EEOC, we calling people racist if we don't get our way. Obviously, they're legitimate claims of racism. Racism still exists, But when you import illegal immigrants, they're so grateful to have a job, making $16.50 an hour, which for them, based upon their previous standard of living, is a fortune. A lot of those problems are going to be eliminated. And of course, with automation and AI, you don't have any of those problems. They don't file lawsuits. They don't call in late. The computer doesn't talk back to the supervisor or threaten lawsuits. And so it's going to be a rude awakening for a lot of people. I think in 2024 and beyond, between this immigration issue and technology, there's going to be a lot of people without income. And the corporations are just getting over. See, people think that if you increase the minimum wage, that the corporation will happily dip into their profits to pay people more money. That's not the way it works. Those corporations are accountable to stockholders, accountable to shareholders. And if they run these corporations with regulations and laws that cut into their profit margin, then the corporations are going to respond in a way that allow them to protect their profits. Look at what happened in Minneapolis. Recently passed a ordinance that requires Uber and Lyft to pay a minimum wage to its drivers. And Uber and Lyft said the rides would, I think the minimum wage was $15, $16 an hour. And Uber and Lyft said, if we pay drivers that much, rides would be too expensive. You will no longer get an Uber across town for $5, $6, $7 or at a reasonable price. It would just cost too much. So what did Uber and Lyft do in response? They pulled out of the entire city. So if you live in Minneapolis, St. Paul, you can't find an Uber, you can't find a Lyft. It's estimated that there's 10,000 drivers who make money from Uber, and that's in those cities, who are out of work because of these activist legislators who think that you can just pass a law that allow people to get paid more money. I guarantee you that none of those city council people ever ran a business. They don't know the first thing about business. All they know about is activism, and they got elected. And now you have people out of work. You got other people who are stranded. They can't get from point A to point B. They rely on Uber and Lyft for transportation, getting their kids to school, going to work, going to buy groceries, and all sorts of businesses will be affected because people do not understand how the economy works.
Talking about that, also, I don't know if you've been following this as well, but like Jeff Bezos and with Amazon, you know, they have the stores that, hey, there's no cashiers whatsoever. You put whatever you want in your cart and you leave out as just like your fingerprint, or, you know, they already have your Amazon account information when you walk in by facial recognition, and you just get what you want and you leave out and you're charged for it that way. Also, you got, when it comes to farming, you got the big people like Bill Gates buying up thousands of acres of land to start planting stuff like more GMO stuff. And it's like, what are we doing? Why aren't we paying attention to this? Why isn't this put out in primetime news? Because they don't want you to see what they're doing right up under your nose. And next thing you know, tomorrow you're gonna be like, dang, what happened? But they've been doing it for a long ass time.
It's interesting that you mentioned that. I saw a video today where there was a tractor that underneath the tractor, there's a lot of laser beams and cameras and computers with AI. And what this tractor does, it has no driver and it shoots lasers at the weeds. It can the camera see the weeds, and it can identify the weeds as opposed to the actual plant and just zap the weeds. So no longer do these large industrial farms have to hire employees, whether you're an immigrant or not. There was another video where it was a tractor that had a bunch of tethered drones attached to it with suction cups. These drones would look at the fruit on the trees as this tractor moved, and it was several dozen drones attached to the tractor. So each drone could look at an apple, determine whether it's ripe, determine whether it had any flaws, and if it was appropriate for picking, the drone would pick the fruit off of the tree and gently drop it into the bucket. No workers involved whatsoever. And so we're looking at a changing landscape in a lot of ways. And these corporations have said, listen, we're not dealing with employees anymore. Their demands for higher wages. If we can't have technology eliminate those jobs, then we'll hire cheap illegal immigration labor to replace these troublesome, demanding U.S. workers.
You know what I'm saying? Foreign country. You know, we're going to allow them to drive us and a car by herself. Tesla already got it where a car drives by itself. You could be in a car driving it yourself, then you can just turn it over to autopilot. And let you know, what's the next topic?
Okay. All right, so let's talk about what's going on in Miami Beach spring break. You've been there, we've been there together. Miami Beach is quite a place to visit, great restaurants, great weather. You have the
Great
beaches.
cigars too.
I'm sorry?
Great cigars too.
Great cigars. And of course, people gather there for spring break every year. Last year was a couple of people shot. The last 2 years, there were people shot on Miami Beach, Ocean Drive, people tearing up property, fights. And, you know, we've all seen the videos.
You know what that remind me of?
What does that remind you of?
Freaknik.
Well, it's interesting that you mentioned Freaknik because I went to Clark Atlanta University and I was in the vicinity when Freaknik occurred for several years.
Was at church.
I was on my way to Bible study. I saw people out in the streets partying. But I remember the city of Atlanta was awarded the 1996 Summer Olympics. Of course, I graduated from high school in 1990, 1991. And so in the lead up to the Olympics, I lived in Atlanta and I was there and attended Freaknik for several years. But probably wisely, the administration of the city said, we cannot have, you know, these tens of thousands of young people in the streets of Atlanta, tarnishing the image of the city as the world is looking at Atlanta for the 1996 Olympics. And from what I understand happened, I had graduated just prior to 1996, but I understand that you couldn't even, they blocked the exits to the freeway on I-75 headed south, coming from the north into Atlanta. So if people were driving to party in Atlanta, you couldn't even get off the freeway. They made it very difficult for people to party in Atlanta. I don't know all the measures that they did because I was gone by the time that happened, but whatever they did worked. And by the time 1996 rolled around, Freaknik was dead and has been dead ever since. So what did the city of Miami Beach do? They have a special event zone where they double around the beach area, Ocean Drive, leading into that area. They double traffic fines and they impound vehicles for traffic violations.
Out of towners get paid. The impound is much higher.
The towing fee is $546. No sidewalk eating at restaurants on Ocean Drive or anywhere else in the beach area. The parking garages rate is $100 for non-residents. And some of the parking garages are closed. They had license plate readers with DUI checkpoints. If you had a warrant and you drove into that area, they got you. They had the license plate reader and a bunch of police cars lined up. And if that license plate reader came back with any outstanding violations or warrants, you were arrested and your car was towed. No scooter or slingshot rentals, limited on-street parking. And a few days before this weekend started, they initiated a curfew from midnight to 6 a.m. So they made it very hard for people to party down there. You have folks coming down there every year, tens of thousands of people. They, like the video we saw, they tearing up cars, they shooting. They're dining and dashing, shoplifting, fighting, whole different attitude down there. I want you to look at this video just to kind of get an example of what how the police are dealing with people.
Go to jail. Let's go. You guys gotta go. McDonald's closed. Leave. Have a good one. Shut down. Get up. Close. We said if you're tripping, get your food and that's it. You don't go to jail. You want to go to jail? Simple as that. You want to go to jail? Check your attitude. Curfew. Check your attitude. We asked. Are you listening? Are you gonna listen?
I'm listening.
You're yelling. You're yelling.
I'm not.
Yes, you are. Okay, look. We're letting you. Let me you stop talking for a second. We're gonna get. Excuse me. Turn around. You're under. Don't touch me.
She should have chose a different swimsuit. That's probably why they arrested her. But obviously, man, they don't want you there. My thing is, why are you trying to go somewhere where you're not even wanted? You know, and that's the problem. Unfortunately, you got a bunch of young people. A lot of them don't have that much money when they go down there, but trying to ball out of control, acting like they got something, and they don't. And it just makes some dumb decisions. So, I mean, if I lived down there, I wouldn't be mad. I would want them gone too.
Yeah, it is unfortunate, and I'm sure it's a minority of people who are causing the problems that ruin it for everybody, but it was too many.
I said young. I said any colors.
Well, I mean, listen, we don't have to shade it. We've seen the videos. There's a lot of black people misbehaving, and it's not exclusively black people, but unfortunately, it is what it is. That when you get a whole lot of young people, and particularly in Miami Beach this type of year, that was when black people gathered down there, young black people, and a lot of the shootings involved us shooting us. We were the victims and the perpetrators. in a lot of instances. And, you know, and I think that it boils down to, it's not a race issue, it's a cultural issue. And it's an issue that we as a community have to address. Obviously, heavy-handed police tactics exist. But like you said, if I lived in that community, I have a lot of money invested in how my community is viewed outside of that community. I don't want that nonsense. I have too much to lose. People, fighting and the loud music and the shooting, it just cannot be tolerated. And I can't blame Miami Beach for what they're doing. They're trying to avoid violence. And in fact, by what they're doing, there's probably some lives are going to be saved, and probably Black lives. And those folks are going to have to find somewhere else to party.
Yeah, man, because it's unfortunate. Miami has some wonderful restaurants to go eat at, man. And, just the beach is great. I mean, when we were down there, the comedy show was great. The beach was good, being able to go get drinks right there on the strip and just chill. Miami is a beautiful place. But like you said, if I have a lot of money invested in somewhere, I don't want to lose my money. And Miami is willing to lose millions of dollars for that weekend and keep everything intact because they got tourists throughout the year. So they're not hurting.
So last time we talked, it was episode 1. We talked about the party that Kamala Harris threw at the vice president's residence for HBCU students, and the DJ thought it was appropriate in the vice president's house to play a Sexy Red song. I don't know what other songs were played. The video I saw, the DJ was playing the song Ski Yee, which has a lot of vile lyrics, uses the N-word a lot, talks about drive-by shootings and violence, a lot of the things that Kamala Harris claims that she's against. And so there's a podcast that former rapper Joe Budden has, and I believe he's interviewing Candace Owens. And they're talking about that song. I don't think the full podcast has been released. I think it might be released today or sometime this weekend. So, but let's take a look at a part of their discussion.
Sexy Red. I talk about Sexy Red on the show. So I will ask you about her baby shower. So she bent over and he put his face in between her butt cheeks at the baby shower. So I just would like you to respond to that.
She's been losing me lately.
Lately?
Lately.
To you at all? So I was interested. I was like, who signed her? Because if you're a person and you're walking around and you can sign anybody and you got the money to sign them, you're going to tell me that's what stood out? Or is that intentional?
It's intentional, of course.
Of course it's intentional.
Of course it is.
And that's what I'm trying to make Black America aware of, right? That is intentional. Somebody's making that decision. That means somebody turned down a Chris Brown, okay? Turned down a Michael Jackson, turned down a Lauryn Hill, and said, that's the one I want to sign.
I want to hear what Joe Budden has to say. I want to hear what Candace Owens has to say. And I know just from what I read online, Candace Owens, by a large segment of the Black community, is not liked. She's called a sellout. She's called, various names. I certainly don't agree with all of her opinions, but she is known to be a conservative. I don't know what her party affiliation is, probably Republican, but she has a lot to say about the music that is pushed on the black community, as do I. I think it's a scourge when you hear little kids memorizing these lyrics and singing them. It's doing a lot of damage to the Black community. So if you have an opportunity to check out the podcast, do it. You have any comment on that?
Oh, man, I got plenty to say on that. The fact of the matter is she's not an artist. She's trash. Her Silky with the good coochie, trash. A lot of these other rappers, I don't care, Black Kodak, all the littles to me besides Lil Wayne and maybe a couple other people are just utterly trash. My booty hole round, my booty hole brown. Man, like, now I'm eating his ass. Where are the lyrics, bro? What are the lyrics? You're not a lyricist. You have nothing you're putting out except trash. And like you said, they're pushing this music to go out to our communities. But we have to sit back and think, who owns these record labels?
That's right.
The Jewish community doesn't have this crap going in their community. Focus on them. But the Jewish own pretty much all the record labels. That's just like a liquor store. You don't see liquor stores all in the suburbs and Beverly Hills. They're in the inner city. So why do you think they're pushing this and think it's okay to sell ignorance to us? And we're being dumb enough to sit up there and buy the product that we know it shouldn't be bought. I'm utterly disturbed by seeing a video of little kids at a party singing Ski. Why? And why are the parents standing back recording this dumb shit thinking that it's okay? And it's cute. It is an epic failure on our behalf to think that that's okay and allowing this mess to be in our communities and sitting there to allow our children to do it. And if you're a parent thinking that's cute, you're messed up. You're wrong. Your values are not in the order it should be. Because I'll be damned if I let my kids listen to some mess like that. Our mother, it was certain music you couldn't play in our mother's house. There's certain things she would not allow you to hear. And we carry that over because you have to protect your children's ears and their eyes. And if you read the Bible, they tell you Lucifer was what? The angel that was over music. He was pretty much the minister of music. And so what is one of the easiest ways and quickest ways to influence people is through music. When you listen to music, it changes your mood. If you listen to, they say if you want to relax, listen to classical or jazz music. You relax. If you're getting ready for a party, you put on the amp rap music or some crazy beats. So it changes your mood and your thought process. And you have to be careful what you allow to hit your ears and your eyes. So as this younger generation, man, you got children raising children, and it has been epic fails. You're too worried about being their friends instead of being their parents.
Hey, well, I think you hit the nail on the head in a lot of ways. And this blame go around with the record labels. There's blame to go around with our people of influence in the Black, or people who have influence within the Black community not saying anything about it. Al Sharpton has a microphone whenever he wants one. He is an employee of MSNBC, NBC Universal, Comcast. That company owns record labels that have a lot of interest in record distribution. Maybe that explains why Al Sharpton is silent on this issue. And I think it's more than a coincidence that Al Sharpton became silent on this issue. He wasn't always silent, but he became noticeably silent when he got the job at MSNBC. I think we should look at the term sellout to see exactly what that means. There's people who get money and either assist or are silent about the destruction of their people. And this music is nothing less than destruction. And I think it's intentional destruction. If a person came out and made a song about killing dogs and celebrating Michael Vick and dog fighting, I guarantee you that person would not be able to find distribution on any major label. Spotify wouldn't play it. Apple Music wouldn't play it. Amazon Music wouldn't play it. But if you talk about killing niggas, they'll put you on the Grammys. They'll put you on American Music Awards. They'll put you on commercials. You'll get a Sprite commercial. You'll get a Planet Fitness commercial. And you don't have any problems. If you talk about gay people, you won't get any distribution. If you talk about Muslims, you won't get any distribution. You talk about Jews, you won't get any distribution. And I venture a guess, you talk about Hindus or Buddhists in a negative light, you wouldn't get any distribution. But you could talk about killing Black people all day long.
Or Christian, go against Christianity, you get distribution.
Yeah, you'll get distribution for that too.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You get it. When it comes to that and Black people, you're going to get distribution. So once again, some of your biggest influences, Tyler Perry, you got these pastors, Jamal Bryan and all of these people. Where y'all at talking about this mess? Where y'all at shutting this down?
TD Jakes, where you at?
Oprah, where you at? All these people have Jay-Z. Where you at?
Well, he's part of the distribution line.
But my point exactly, but where you at? You're sitting there in the office and you see this shit coming across your desk and you okay with it. But you're talking about uplifting the Black community. To me, at one point, we as a people have to get to the point where we say enough is enough and start making changes. We pump so much money into this economy, trying to look a certain way, trying to smell a certain way, trying to put forth a persona that is not us. So at what point do we take that money and start pumping it back into our own community? The Jewish do it, the Japanese do it, the Chinese do it, the Mexicans, and the Middle Easterns. Pump money in their own community. As much money as us as Black people spend in this country, why don't we have more of our own banks, our own grocery stores, our own hospitals, our own ambulance services? When you sit there, you look in New York, the Jewish people have their own ambulance service, their own hospitals. After the 3 years.
But you're absolutely right. I think as far as proportion of income, Black people spend more money on music, more money on consumer items such as shoes, clothes, perfume, hair, beauty products. And I'm glad to see, because of this new economy that we have with social media, that these small manufacturers are able to find distribution. You don't have to go through the big retailers anymore. We're going to talk about the TikTok ban next, but I don't think TikTok should be banned because it has its own ecosystem and economy. You have so many small business people making money because of social media and TikTok. Of course, these outlets, social media has a lot of drawbacks and a lot of negativity. But I think one of the positive things about it is that it allows individuals to have a voice, first of all, but also artists, whether it's a musical artist, whether it's comedians, musicians, it allows them to have exposure to their products, their service, and their art. And people have been discovered and gone on to become very notable and gain a level of notoriety because of TikTok. Now, TikTok opened the TikTok shop, and you have small people, whether it's people selling hair growth products or beauty products or do-rag hats or whatever it may be. A lot of people have become very successful, small business people, including black entrepreneurs, TikTok, and do a lot of what you talked about. So no longer do they have to go through the big gatekeepers that if you don't have distribution at Walmart or Target, you just have no hope. Those outlets can be bypassed and manufacturers, small business people can go directly to other consumers. So talking about TikTok, the United States House of Representatives, in a bipartisan vote, voted to make illegal apps developed by ByteDance, a Chinese-owned company which owns TikTok. And the legislation says that ByteDance would have to TikTok to an American company within 6 months of the legislation being signed. So what do you think about that?
Well, the last part of what you were saying is the most important part. This is why I say that. Because the biggest concern that the government has with TikTok is that it's a Chinese-owned company that owns the TikTok platform and cybersecurity. Here's the thing a lot of people don't understand as well about TikTok. TikTok in America is totally different than TikTok in America has allowed people to be discovered and make money in different ways. And yes, that's great. But in China, TikTok is not used that way. China doesn't allow you to see anything on TikTok if it's not educational, period. And the biggest thing is cybersecurity risk with China is why they were so hard pressed on passing that bill and saying what they had to say as far as sell to American company. Do I think they're going to sell to American company? I don't think so, but who knows? But the thing is like any other company, if Ford used to own Mercury, Jaguar, and Aston Martin. The biggest thing I want to talk about is Ford and Mercury. You had the Ford Taurus and a Mercury like Sable or something. They were the same damn car with two different names on it, but it was the same damn car, right? But that one company owned both of those cars. So the thing to me is you can sell it to an American company, but it's still going to have its ties to that company in China to get what they want. That's what I think. So you have to be careful. So the underlying factor is what the government, as far as in DC, was talking about was cyber security with China.
Yeah, well, I think there's going to be some constitutional issues. I'm sure there will be a challenge. The law will probably be on hold while the case works its way through the courts. And there's no guarantee that Facebook isn't farming information and misusing it, or Instagram or X for that matter.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly.
I'm not sure, I don't recall, but we certainly know that Facebook has been involved in, you look at the COVID situation and how Facebook censored information. I mean, legitimate studies, legitimate stories about that ran counter to what the government was telling us. I mean, the United States public has been abused by American-owned companies when it comes to information manipulated, certain information censored, other people silenced. How many people did Twitter kick off and silence during COVID, leading up to COVID, whether it was related to COVID or not, for people who just simply disagree with a certain political ideology or a certain government-sanctioned line about whatever the topic was. And these were American-owned companies. So you don't have to be foreign-owned to create mischief. Now, I'm not for foreign manipulation or improper gathering of information by our strategic opponents. But I think you need to look at all of these companies, and whether TikTok should be singled out. I think a microscope should be taken to all of these organizations, but while keeping in mind that free speech is important. I recall the effort that the United States had, or an attempt to have a misinformation czar. And this person would go around labeling certain information misinformation. Well, that's dangerous. But who decides what misinformation is or disinformation? I think people should do that. The number one counter to improper speech or to hostile speech is more speech. You don't take away speech or have some government czar telling us what the truth is. That's where the problem begins. Anybody who read George Orwell's 1984 understands that the government has no place in telling people what the truth is, because that's always subject to manipulation, and it's probably going to be a lie because the government has its own motive. Yeah, got to check that one out. It was a good one. So let's move to a couple of lighter topics. Let's talk about entertainment and sports. Before we get to sports, let's talk about the Oscars, which I haven't watched in years, but this one is kind of related to sports because Russell Wilson, for some reason, was at the Oscars with his wife, Ciara, and people say what?
Neither one of them act, so I'm just saying.
Right. Let's so people are talking about this picture right here.
Damn! No, I'm just playing. Hey man, hey.
So that's
blind. Okay, yeah. we see, and that's why a lot of people hating on Russell. You can call him a square all you want, but that brother is winning. He's winning business wise. He's winning as a family man, as a black father, being there for his kids, raising them, showing them what to do, being active in their life with sports and just everyday life, taking in another man's kid and raising them and accepting them as his own. She wants to be, it may be. And she's a beautiful woman, as we all can see. And, she's intelligent. But he's also an awesome football player. And he's a Christian, God-fearing man. So does he have his flaws? Of course, everybody has flaws, but you can't deny that the man is a winner.
All right, so respond to this the criticism that people have.
Haters.
And the way she was dressed. You have your entertainment career, whatever that's worth nowadays, but you don't have to be out there like that. Like you said, your husband is a Christian. Are you? Why you out there dressed like that? What do you got to say about that?
For the same reason what they said with Megan Good, she was married to the pastor, and like, oh, why you got on a dress that tight or could be that short? Man, look, one thing I hate is a person that be so holy that you act like you do everything right. You was probably one of the biggest hoes back in your day. Now you trying to act like you so damn sanctified and stuff. Man, come on. Stop it. And the reason why I feel so strongly about it is because when I was getting ready to have my son, and I was a senior in high school, and people in the church were all cool, then they found out I'm about to have a kid, then you pulling your kid away from being around me and making little smart comments. Church folks be some of the worst people ever, man. But you forget that yet you were a sinner, and we all sinners that come short of the glory of God. And you cast no stone. At a glass house, you gon' come on now. Somebody helped you from stop being a hoe to come to Jesus. Somebody stopped you from being a pimp or a crackhead, you know what I'm saying? Or whatever your demon was that you had to deal with that brought you, that somebody saved you, that you heard somebody's words that opened your ears and your heart to receive God, and you walk down the aisle and put your hands up and open your heart to Jesus. Somebody did that. You got to remember that. So don't sit up here and cast judgment on somebody you don't even know. So it ain't like her dress was up above her damn crotch. It was a nice length dress. Was it form-fitting? Yeah, it was. Did she fill it out well? Yes, she did. But hell, I like when let my girl put on something like that and she fill it out good. Yeah, baby, flaunt it. I'm cool. But as long as you ain't got no thong showing and you showing your titties, but it's okay for your wife to walk through with some goose feathers on her damn nipples and nothing else.
Hey, listen,
it's okay for you to walk around with a bad wig and a tight ass suit showing everything where you can't breathe. Talking about as European. Get the hell out of here, bro.
Hey, listen. Here's my take. That's that man's wife. If it's okay with him and she's
shut the hell up.
She's not doing this the sexy red. She's a singer and she has a form.
Eating her booty hole at a baby shower.
Hey, well, you said it. So I think people need to relax, take a chill, and I agree with you. Russell Wilson is winning, and he, by all accounts, he's a great quarterback, and I wish him and his wonderful family much blessings.
There you go. Me too. What you got next?
Next is we got some major moves in the sports realm. In fact, just before we went live with this podcast, there was an announcement about Chicago quarterback. Why don't you tell us about that?
Man, the Chicago Bears, man, my Uncle Ray's favorite team, but they still stupid. Don't know what to do. And they shiesty. And they traded Justin Fields to the Pittsburgh Steelers to join the quarterback room with Russell Wilson. And they're saying that he won't be the starter. He's there to sit there and learn from Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson's going to be his mentor, showing the ropes. Russell Wilson signed a 1-year contract, and the Bears got about a 5th-round pick for him, and it could possibly go up to like a 4th-round pick if he plays 51% of the snaps this year, which I don't see happening unless Russell Wilson gets hurt. But yeah, I mean, I think Justin Fields is a good quarterback. But when you had like 2 or 3 different coaches in this 3-year period and about 3 different offensive coordinators, and you didn't have a good supporting cast, you had a bunch of trash-ass skill players, and you've been running for your life most of the time, what do you expect? He hasn't had any consistency whatsoever for him to really be great as he could be. He's shown flashes of his greatness throughout the 3 years he was in with the Bears, but he hasn't been able to be consistent. One, because he hasn't had any real supporting cast or talent around him like he should. 2, from injuries, because he didn't have no offensive line, really. So now I think the Bears got Allen from the Chargers. They got Moore from the Panthers last year. And I think they just signed the Lions and Eagles' old running back, Swift. So they got talent that could fit him good, but then they got rid of him. Now you're going with an unknown, unproven rookie quarterback you're going to draft in the draft this year. And quite frankly, I don't think Caleb Williams is going to be better than a Justin Fields right now. And I think probably the other quarterbacks may be a little bit more polished than Caleb Williams, that a couple of the other quarterbacks. But hey, it's y'all money. Y'all blow your money the way you want to.
Now, I thought Caleb Williams said he didn't want to play for the Bears.
Caleb Williams want ownership stake that you can't do as a player in the first damn place. You know, Caleb Williams won a lot of things, but you haven't proved anything yet. You won the Heisman 1 year, which is a big thing. Will not take that away from you. But what was your production after that? The year after that? Not the same whatsoever. So you are not as accurate as you think you are, but hell, who am I? I didn't play quarterback in college or in the pros, so I'm not going to go too hard on them because I didn't do that. Now, if we talk about running backs, that's a different story. I could do that all day, but I'm going to give him that much respect. But he's yet to be proven to be as much as he claims he is in my eyes.
So I'm wondering how Justin Fields feels about this, whether he was consulted about this trade, whether they allowed him to have some buy-in. You're second string, presumably, to a quarterback, Russell Wilson, who hasn't done much recently. I mean, he was criticized for his play at Denver. Justin Fields is young. I wonder how he feels about this move.
He could be happy because he'll finally get a fresh start. It could be like some type of relief because now you're not the starter. It gives you an opportunity to really sit back and learn some new tricks of the trade from a veteran that you didn't get the opportunity to do with the Bears because you were thrown straight into the fight.
Well, it's a tough division because the AFC North, where the Steelers are, you have the Cincinnati Bengals and you have Cleveland, right?
Why do you even mention Cleveland?
Well, I mean, Cleveland has a pretty good quarterback. I mean, he was injured at the end of last season, I believe. But certainly the Baltimore Ravens got who did they get? Derrick Henry
for the Tennessee Titans, baby.
Yeah. Now he leaves the Titans. Henry has led the NFL in rushing touchdowns and rushing yards per game and rushing attempts and rushes of 10 plus yards since 2017. And all of those categories, Justin Henry has been the leader. So now he joins up with the awesome Baltimore quarterback. And so,
Lamar Jackson.
What do you think about how the Ravens looking this year and how do they line up against, say, the Bengals and even the Steelers?
First of all, let's talk about Derrick Henry. Do you know how big that man is? All of 6'3", probably about 6'3", about a good 250. Solid. He's a monster. Think about Megatron as a running back. Just nasty. Dude is fast, powerful, good runner. I think with Lamar Jackson it would take some of the beating off of his body where he doesn't have to run as much, do quarterback option. He's still going to run, but it gives him a good running game. To me, it takes me back to the days of when the Ravens had a Jamal Lewis or a Ray Rice. They had a good balanced offense, a good running game. I think Derrick Henry kind of gives them that old school running back that they like, that is a bruiser, north and south runner, that can get you the tough yards. And you got a nice group of young receivers out there with Lamar and a decent offensive line and a good tight end. So I think, hey, Baltimore was a team to look out for anyway. I think that just made them a little bit better. But once again, it's yet to be seen, because when they got into the playoffs, they were the big rave throughout the season, the number 1 seed, and then they choked.
Mm-hmm.
So we should see.
Definitely going to be interesting. I think the Baltimore Ravens are a team to watch. Anything to be excited about the Bengals?
No.
You don't think so?
No.
Okay. All right.
No. I think Cleveland could be pretty exciting to watch. I also think the Houston Texans will be an exciting team to watch next year. But the most exciting team to me for next year will be none other than my own Detroit Lions, baby.
Oh yeah, you biased. I knew you was gonna say the Lions. I mean, the Lions they got off last season,
Hey, I've been rocking with them since Barry was there, through 0-16, through when you refused to turn the TV on and you tell me what you...
I'm a fan now.
Yeah, bandwagon ass dude. Nah, I call you like, hey man, I call you back. I got the game on. I call you after the game. I said, ain't this about something? Who's this guy?
Hey, I'm claiming them. I'm claiming them now. I might even go out and get some Lions gear.
Man, you got like the Sunday ticket on now. You got like 3 TVs going on, watching 3 different games now.
Hey,
I'm like, who is this guy?
What can I say? It was so disappointing when the Lions got beat, man. I thought they was going to do it. I didn't even want to watch football anymore when they got beat in the playoffs.
Man, you know what the crazy part is?
Yeah.
Them playing the 49ers, I thought they were going to win with the way they came out. I was like, oh, man, this is going to be good. But I was like, it's too early. Then they lose the game. And I have a frat brother that's a big 49ers fan. And he saw that game, and he was like, I know he was happy. And then the crazy part is he died right before he was able to watch the Super Bowl with his team.
Man.
He was a big 49ers fan.
Wow.
And he died, and his funeral was the week before the Super Bowl. And I was just like, dang, man, that was kind of crazy, because I knew his joy from that. But, hey, I think the Lions can do good next year, man. With the pickup they got with the defensive tackle they got from the Bengals, the pickup they got from the DN from the Vikings, Dunlap, and they got 2 corners, because we need help in the secondary. So we shall see.
Excited about the 24-25 NFL season. And so with that, we conclude episode 2 of the Thomas and Terrell Show. It's good talking to you again, bro. We'll see you next week.
All right, man. Love you.
Love you too. Bye.
All right.